All right, the regular board meeting of March 23rd, 2023 is called to order at 6:31 PM. Can I get roll call, please?
Costin here.
Lester Mask on presence.
Balls you have here.
And Brianna Texoni here. It's recommended, 1C, recommended that the board approve the regular meeting agenda for March 23rd, 2023. Can I get a motion?
Mask on second.
Any discussion, any changes?
No changes to the agenda. Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Costin, I.
Mask on aye.
Balls you have aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. 2A, public participation.
No public participation at this moment. Thanks.
Thank you. 3A, closed session discussion items. The board has a right to discuss conference with labor negotiators, public employee discussion, discipline, dismissal, and release, conference with legal counsel, and student matters. 3B, adjourn to closed session. Can I get a motion?
Mask on motion.
Tim Jorgensen, second.
Discussion? Call for question. All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Costin, I.
Mask on aye.
Balls you have aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. The board is adjourned to closed session at 6:32 PM. meeting, the regular board meeting of March 23rd, 2023 will reconvene at 7:30 p.m. For a flag salute, the flag salute will be led by Tom Costin.
Everybody stand, face the flag, please. That's all. Hand over your arm. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
For B, civility statement, Tim.
Communicate clearly and concisely with respect for the time of others. Listen objectively, carefully considering the opinions of others. Understand the counterproductive effects of disruptive, demeaning, and intimidating behaviors. Understand and respect district policies and procedures. Maintain a respect for the rich history of the district and the efforts of others who have served in the past.
Thank you. 5A, report of action taken in closed session. Action was taken in closed session. The Board of Trustees met on agenda item 5C in closed session. During closed session, the board accepted a settlement agreement that has already been signed by Southern California Edison. The settlement agreement resolves issues between the district and Southern California Edison over billing disputes occurring between February 2021 through August 2022. Without any party admitting liability or fault, the settlement agreement calls for the district to pay Southern California Edison the reduced amount of $202,498.31. And the vote passed 5-0-0. 6A, public comments, recognitions, and reports.
No comments this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. 7A, ADA representative. Looks like we do not have an ADA representative present. 7B, CSEA representative. Nothing at this time. 7C, student representative to the board. It looks like Miss Emily isn't here. Do we have a report from her?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Awesome.
Emily's very responsible. She sent me her updates. And I think she's at a track meet. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so good luck, Emily. So her report, on Saturday, March 25th, High Desert will be hosting a handbells concert. The concert starts at 7 p.m. and will consist of both Hawks and Mustangs. Today, the Vasquez track meet had a meet and volleyball had an away game. Tomorrow, both baseball and softball will have games, and next Thursday, Vasquez will host a home meet. Thank you, Emily. Here we go.
Awesome. Thank you. 7D, superintendent gold standard report.
All right, thank you. So tonight I'll be covering two initiatives from our existing plan, student achievement and community engagement. Student achievement, in our continued efforts to enhance our arts education and to honor the approved LA Arts Collective Plan. Thank you, trustees, for that. Our interim arts TOSA, Ms. Carrie Owens, in collaboration with High Desert, and our wonderful community members all contributed to a very successful Arts Day last week at High Desert. Our students were exposed to multiple sessions covering a wide variety of visual and performing arts, which also included culinary arts. So we have some photos from that very exciting morning and afternoon. And per Ms. Owens' email, she stated, it was a great success, which took many behind the scenes people to make it successful. This included transportation to get students from Vasquez to High Desert and back, setting up vendors and invoices for materials, getting substitute teachers for our teacher presenters, tech crew for any technology needs, maintenance, housekeeping to open gates, set up tons of tables and chairs, cafeteria to double up lunch and serve twice as many students in the same amount of time. And of course, she thanked the High Desert staff. So job well done all around. Continuing with community engagement is next. We kicked off our strategic plan development team sessions on March 20th, which was Monday this week, and March 21st, Tuesday. The 2 5-hour sessions were quite seamless, and we have a couple of pictures up there for our community to see. The team was comprised of a total of 35 participants, parents, students, community members, and staff. From these sessions, we will synthesize feedback and funnel down the key elements needed to update our existing plan and goals. Again, thank you to our educational partners for signing up and volunteering their time to be on the development team. I'd like to especially thank our student participants for a job well done. And I have to sincerely say they were very thoughtful, very articulate, and very mindful and engaged with their responses and insight. Our third and final session is scheduled for April 6th. As part of community engagement, I'd like to announce a couple of, one item from a community partner, a huge community partner of ours, Acton Women's Club. They are now accepting applications for their annual academic scholarship awards. Deadline for submission is April 19th. Applications are geared towards our graduating seniors, of course. For more information, please see the contact information on your screen. Applications can also be obtained online, as well as from the Acton Agua Dulce Library, as well as Acton Women's Club Resale Shop and Perkin Up. Lastly, our continued efforts for branding and marketing our district come also in the form of customer care and efficiency. With that said, we have partnered with School Mint to establish an easy access for current and prospective parents to access information about our district, which would also include the ability to enroll and register online. One item we are most excited about is the enrollment registration feature. Folks will be redirected to our area's online portal. Here, parents will be able to go ahead and access electronic registration materials and forms that are very site specific. I want to stress for our community, this won't take away from our registration days, because I know people like the face-to-face, but we're trying to do our best to streamline efforts of registration and minimize all the extra work that our wonderful school office staff needs to do with all of the paperwork. Electronic is the way to go. So tonight we have Ms. Charlie DeWitt from School Mint to share an overview with us and walk us through a little bit of a demo. So Alex.
Hey there, nice to meet you all. My name is Charlie DeWitt. I'm from the School Mint team. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick screen share. Oh. All right, so what our team has created for the Acton Agua School District is what's called an enrollment microsite. So what an enrollment microsite does is essentially serve as kind of like your online flyer or your landing page where people want to end up so that they can learn a little bit more about your school, see the great things that you offer, and it's designed specifically to make them take action for enrollment, right? So knowing that enrollment is critical across the country in every school district right now, we don't want anyone to fall through the cracks. We want everyone to make sure that they're able to take any actions they need to complete enrollment. So it serves a little bit of marketing purpose as well as boosting your SEO. All of that kind of stuff goes into the solution as well, but tells your story. So when families go to your microsite, which will be linked to your home page, you'll be able to learn a little bit more about all of the great things happening at your school with lots of great photos, information about all of your schools, learning more about school tours, shadow days, things like that. And then when they're ready to contact your school and say, hey, like I'd love to learn a little bit more. I'm not quite ready to enroll, but I am quite ready to learn a little bit more information. They'll be able to fill out information requests. It'll go directly to your school staff to be able to respond, providing obviously a high level of customer service, which I know your team is really great at. They're in my school enrollment management training course right now, and they are just incredibly passionate about providing great customer service to their constituents at their school, which is awesome to see. Able to engage with the schools in different ways. And then additionally, right, we've got this apply today button, and we've got it in a couple of different places around the website. That once it's live, you'll be able to click it and it'll go straight to your enrollment portal, so that not only are you telling families, hey, like this is why we're great and this is why you should be proud to go here and why you should choose our schools, but it also will make it really easy for them to be able to get to their online portal, fill out their application, finish registration, and get any of their enrollment questions answered all in one spot. So long and short of it, that's the microsite. I'm happy to answer questions about what the microsite does, what SEO we're kind of working with, or what the solution entails as a whole. This is available for anyone to preview or make comments on, all of that kind of stuff. I believe you guys should have the link to the preview site, but it's ready to go as soon as we get the thumbs up. So if anyone has any questions, or if there's anything else anyone wants to see on the site, I'm happy to click around, but I know that y'all are busy and I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Thank you, Charlie. I think board might have some questions. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.
I have none.
Just curious, so we linked to from our homepage, but could this be found independently?
Absolutely. Yep.
And it has all that to go with it. People look at schools in my area, or what kind of thing, what kind of internet search would bring this up outside of our website? What search terms generally would you think?
Well, obviously I can't promise anything, but typically what we're looking for is like enroll my kid in a school near me, or like how to enroll my student in school. Those are local. We're looking for those local search terms. And ideally, right, like the number one thing we want them to see is your Google business profile. So we've been working with the Acton Agua team to get those claimed and optimized, knowing that that's typically right, like where families will see a school first. But in most of the cases that we're seeing, we're able to get this microsite for our schools is usually the second or third thing that's coming up. So usually, right, with a district, you've been around a while, your website has some good SEO behind it and good domain authority. So ideally that's coming up first. Families could get to the microsite here, but if they're searching like enroll at Acton School, anything with enrollment, anything with registration, this is the site that we want to be popping up. So it'll be a standalone site that you can use. A lot of our schools, right, are using them as like they have a QR code that they can put on, like flyers or postcards or, signs, and it'll link directly to the microsite, knowing that the actions that we want families to take are all linked on this, and that your district website is a good place for people to learn information about your school, and prospective families can get all the information that they need on this microsite, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
this will
obviously,
be,
I'm not I can't ever promise anything, but I can say all of our schools have seen a nice bump, and I'm really proud of the work that we've been able to do for them.
hi, this is Lester Mascon. This will be on our domain, right? It won't be a separate domain.
We can do either or. So it really depends on what you and the IT team want to do. Some of our schools are like, absolutely, we don't want to mess with anything like that. We don't know how to purchase our own subdomain or set up our own subdomain. So we end up purchasing one for them. So it would be something like enroll a DUSD. But most of our schools that are districts, right, that have an IT team prefer to host it on their own, which is totally fine.
I tend not to trust things that aren't part of the domain of the school I'm going to. So if it's like some domain that doesn't make sense, then I probably may not go to it or click on it or look at it.
Yep, I agree. It's honestly, it's better to have everything pushing in one direction rather than have it, two separate things. But for schools that are like, oh, we can't do it, right? I'd rather have them have something than nothing.
All of our social media links I see are on there. So
Yep.
this is not part of our marketing funnel. This is just kind of an endpoint, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, one more time.
This is not part of our marketing funnel. It's like more of an endpoint, correct?
So it's kind of like if you think of the marketing funnel as being like 4 steps, right? Like aware, interested, engaged, enroll. Like this is typically happening at that like interest and engage level where they're like, I want to learn a little bit more. So the goal is right to funnel them down to taking an engagement action, right? Like to saying like, I'm going to call a school, I'm going to enroll at the school, I'm going to take a tour of the school. That's kind of where the engage site fits, is at that interest to engage level.
Very good, thank you.
Mm-hmm. also hopefully, right, like if the SEO is really good behind it, it'll sit up at that awareness level too, right? When people are searching for schools.
Nobody does SEO anymore.
I do. I appreciate the questions coming from board member Costin and Mask on those who were asking you the questions. I remember when this first started, there was some trepidation about what this meant. But I see the end game here. Here's what I do not want. I do not want predatory. I don't like Newhall or charter school postcards showing up in my mailbox. I send my kids where they need to go. Hi, Mark Winger, how you doing, buddy? But at the end of the day, I don't want predatory things going on out of this. I don't need to steal kids from another district. I don't need to pretend that they are something that we are. I don't want that. I want this to focus on what we do, what our staff does, and the successes we have. So please don't let me find out. The rest of the board can figure out. I'll cry loud enough to overrule them, but I do not want predatory techniques used to try and steal other kids. That's not what we're all about. Am I clear? Consultant, I'm asking you. I'm not asking you. You can't commit to the moral turpitude or lack thereof in this district. So what, are we good? Do you understand me?
Yes.
Good. Perfect. Thank you. Brianna.
Okay, so just so you know, I come from a background where I worked in our school offices doing registration and enrollment. So that's where my questions are going to come from. I also had 6 kids in the district, and filling out 6 emergency cards and 6 packets every single year was absolutely awful. And there was not enough lines on the emergency card ever. So that's where my questions are going to come from. This is for that whole fat enrollment packet that we have to pick up in the summertime and fill out and turn in at registration. This is going to take the place of that for existing students, or this is only for new students?
I'll chime in, Charlie.
Right.
And we do have Alex here from IT, wonderful IT team. So this could be serving both prospective families coming in and then current families. So going to the enrollment link will then take the parent or prospective parent to Aries portal. So within the Aries portal, there'll be site specific depending on which school you're registering and enrolling, because each site might have, all of our 3 sites will have the same generic templates. And then there'll be some site specific types of templates for registration. Each one are being rounded up right now electronically from my office as well as IT. Those will be uploaded to Aries, and then the majority of forms we could actually get into the Aries portal will be uploaded for the registration process.
So I'm a mom of 6 kids and I want to enroll my students, and I have 2 in each school. I go here, I enroll them all, and I don't have to fill out a single paper and then my kids get given classes and everything's great. And I don't have to fill out 6 emergency cards, and I don't have to fill out 462 documents from the district of concussions and insurance and all of that, correct? That's all going to be on here to sign digitally.
The majority of the forms will be on here. There will be some forms that we won't be able to actually upload electronically. I know we'll be cutting down at least 3/4 of the paperwork through this process, but there will be some that will have to probably be filled out as we're walking this process through and getting this launched. There'll be some. I know you're thrilled.
As an office staff, going through all of those papers was a nightmare as well. So this will definitely cut down for office staff. So for existing, I have 3 kids that are already in our district. At the end of the year, during the summertime, at the start of the year, I'm going to be able to log into my parent Aries student portal. I'm going to be able to automatically update all of my information, change my emergency contacts, change my address, change what I need to change before the school year starts. And it will just be done. And the office staff will not have to be doing that well into December.
That's correct. And I'm looking at Alex and he could confirm that as well.
That's awesome.
Yes.
So the school that I work at now, we do have complete full online enrollment. So when parents do come in, we have Chromebooks there and we say, it's all online, let me set you up. We go to the link on our Chromebook, we sit with a parent that might not be the most computer savvy. We sit with them, we do the whole online. We don't have paper copies of anything at all. So going from having to deal with the nightmare of all the paper copies to all online. I'm very excited for our parents for this, and I'm very excited for our poor office staff for this. This is fantastic. I have been asking for this for, I don't know, since I was at Meadowlark. That was a long time ago. This is a long time coming, so thank you very much for making it happen.
Luke, please.
Tim?
No. Do we have a link where we can test this out? Because I see when I tried to duplicate your link, it asked me to log in.
Yes, there is a preview link that I believe Eric, I think you should have, but I'll resend it right now to make sure that you can get it to anyone who wants to preview it and check it out.
Thank you, Charlie. I'll send that to the trustees once again and should be in the Friday memo of last week, I believe. And if it's not, we'll send it out again.
And just one quick question. So this will produce reports for the staff to know when people have completed the online enrollment or things that are missing. Is that because I just, if you're going to enroll 6 children and there's going to be a lot of forms and a lot of repeat, I assume that there's a lot of autofill and a lot of common things there. So how does the office staff know when there's a complete application? And if it's going to send them emails or it's going to shoot out a report, just curious about that.
So, Mr. Costin, I think I could help answer that question. So since it's linked to our Aries portal, for example, if I'm working on my child's registration, I get caught up with something else, and I don't actually finish all of the forms in the registration process, it will go ahead and indicate where I left off to the school office staff through the Aries portal query report, where Eric hasn't finished the registration, and then our office staff has the option of either contacting them and saying, hey, you left off, is there anything that we could help you with? The nice thing about the Aries portal is parents could stop at any time and then get back on, and they're not going to lose all of the work they've actually completed prior to.
Highly integrated. I like it.
Yeah.
So this is for the oldest members of my fan club. Please tell me that there are no statements on the enrollment forms that say, I certify that my child has never had an IEP or a 504 plan. Oh, I've seen that come through here, and other things like ACLU poster child language violation. So there's nothing like that on there. There's nothing exclusionary. Why are you all looking at me like this? We've come a really long ways, trust me. Anyway, no?
No.
Good, thank you.
My last thought, I did see apply on there a couple of different times. Apply in my mind references that we have a denial process. You apply and you get either approved or denied. I'm not a fan of the word apply for a public school, because we're not denying children education.
Absolutely, that's a word that we can absolutely change if we'd rather. I've seen enroll, I've seen register. If there's another word that you guys would like, I'm happy to make that change. I can do it in about 30 seconds.
Sure, Charlie, I could get back to you on that.
Perfect.
We've had, a marketing campaign of, take the next step, enroll today. So enroll could be possibility, one of the possibilities, but we could discuss.
Enroll
Yeah.
now, registration request, something of that sort, but apply is a tough word in my vocabulary. That's it, I'm done. We good? Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Absolutely. And feel free to let me know if you have any other follow-up questions. Happy to be available for y'all.
All right, moving on, 7E, COVID-19 reports.
Thank you. As of February 22nd, LA County is in the low category for CDC COVID-19 community levels. In the low category, masking is strongly recommended in indoor public places if you are at risk for severe illness. In the Acton Agua Dulce surrounding areas, there have been 4 new cases of COVID-19 since our last report of March 9th, which was our last board meeting. In our school community, there have been 2 positive cases reported since March 9th, and exposure notifications have been sent out for those affected. We want to encourage parents to test their students for COVID if they have any symptoms, such as a high fever, vomiting, cough. Home test kits are still available at the school sites, as well as your local pharmacy. Just know that the test kits funding expires this June. And that concludes the report for this evening. Thank you, Ms. Taxon.
Thank you. 7F, submissions.
No submissions this evening.
Thank you.
I have a comment on that. Move, please.
Okay, can we move for discussion? Tim,
What do you do?
we're looping, I called for 7F submissions and Tim asked me if we could loop for board comments on submissions.
Okay, so I have this in front of me. The board has this in front of them. It's from Assurance Learning Academy. I'm not sure why this is in front of us this evening. I'm holding this up so you can do a records request, Mike. Anyway. My look at this and my understanding of charter law is this: a charter, because of the 1200 series that came out of Newhall, thank you, Christy Smith and Mark Winger, was that a charter cannot make a submittal on one board meeting and then request the hearing. So there's got to be at least one day in between this showing up and the next board meeting. So I'm thinking that in my history, if something like this would show up, that someone would be on the screen making a hi, how are you? This is not a hearing, but we dropped this off to you today. So if that was the intention, whoever dropped this off to me had better drop it off next time, which is a month from now, and begin the process. At that point, somebody just wasted a month where I come from. That's not a ruling, it's just my understanding. If my understanding is incorrect in charter law, I will put up a historical marker because that will be a first. But outside of that, I need to know why this is being presented to the board and if it was included in the information packet to the public. I don't think there's answers necessary for that. Thank you.
And I have no comments, so we'll go ahead and move on to 8 board comments. Tim?
All right, thank you. Well, first up, I'm going to do some apologies that I can confirm what goes on in Vegas doesn't necessarily stay there because I got sick and brought it back with me. So I missed a few things and I missed the read at Meadowlark. So to Meadowlark, I apologize for missing that on the 9th. And then I got notice of the dance force competitions at High Desert and Eastside. I missed those Saturday, Sunday. I was thinking about you, but I was still laying flat on my back. And then Miss Owens at Vasquez had the High Desert Arts Day on the 15th, and I told her that I was going to go to that, and I missed that as well. So my apologies for missing those events for our students to excel. The next thing I want to do is I want to take a moment to recognize our winter sports athletes. That it's just the most recent season, the season that we completed. And a couple of unique things that have took place, and that is all 4 of our athletic teams, boys and girls soccer and girls basketball and boys basketball, all qualified for postseason competitions. It's been a long-standing tradition with Coach Terry and Coach Michaela of our girls soccer that they have always made a regular appearance in our athletic competitions postseason. And likewise with Coach Peter and the boys, that he reminded me that they have been in competitions 8 years running now. Now, clearly they got in, they were one and done. They got knocked out in the first round. But the point is that our athletic programs are recovering and we're beginning to grow and we're beginning to recognize that our student athletes are excelling academically, but then they're achieving on the field to represent us. Small school playing Little Rock High School, for instance, is an absolute mind boggler, but our girls and our boys and our athletes go out there with our coaches. They're doing exceptional work for us to teach character, integrity, winning. And this chair is going to recognize them every time I see them doing a really outstanding job. And so this winter season was really remarkable. And remarkable in the sense that my 18 years there, I had never seen the girls make a postseason competition play. And we went a couple of years without a girls team, coaching, COVID, other circumstances. But this year, the girls and the coach worked very hard to play hard. Again, they got into the competition. They only made it to the first round and got knocked out, but it's the point that they made it there. And so to be recognized and congratulate all those the boys and girls soccer and the girls basketball. And then I want to end with the boys basketball. We've had an exciting year for boys basketball, along with the girls, the same thing. But finishing 5th in their league, they earned a wild card competition, and they took that wild card appearance and made it to the quarterfinals. That's exceptional for a small school. I was excited enough that I had spoken to some of the parents and the athletes and congratulated the coach after the games. And I was in error thinking that this was the first time that I was aware that a boys basketball team made it, qualified for quarterfinals competition. Did some research because someone told me, I don't think that's right. So I went back and looked it up and I was wrong. 2019, Coach Cronkite took the boys basketball to the quarterfinals. So we've had 2 exceptional years before COVID and our first year basically coming out of COVID, where our athletes are representing our district and our community and our schools and taking our small school with a lot of tenacity and hard work and exciting basketball to watch and qualifying for quarterfinals. I bring this up because everybody's been those have been in the gym. We've done a lot of work in the gym, and as educators and parents and teachers, our students are always thinking, oh, I'm going to go all the way. I want to go play D1. Well, okay, they're dreaming. And I appreciate that. And one way I help them be successful in that dream is I said, well, dream it. Think about it. What are you going to do? Are you going to work hard? Are you going to play hard? Are you going to be a team player? And then I want them to talk about it and to solidify that they've got to focus on their dream of going to the playoffs and being a champion and doing these things. Write it down. When they write it down, they thought about it, they talked about it, they write it down, helps them be successful. And that's what our coaches are doing is they're helping these young athletes excel in the class. They're thinking about what they want to do, be league champs, being playoff competition, going all the way, doing those things, just like we're mirroring what the parents do, the coaches do it, the teachers do it. And the point is that in our gym, we have a lot of achievement banners up on the wall for all of our different athletics teams. And I've looked at those and I've scanned those and I'm thinking there's something missing. And so this time I'm going to focus on winter sports. That this is a great opportunity for us to update those banners to let those kids know that they have been recognized for their accomplishment, and it helps them to build for their next year. Their dream is coming. The underclassmen are dreaming about, well, we're going to go beyond quarterfinals. Coaches want them talking. Coaches want them thinking this. It helps build the team. It helps build our school. There are ambassadors. We want parents to enroll their kids here, knowing that they can excel academically because we have outstanding academics, but then they can have an opportunity to play and excel in something they dream about. So there was some discussion about, well, they didn't win. Well, yeah, they did win. They got there. And I think that I would hope that we could come up with some recognition for these, that when they get to that benchmark of success, the quarterfinals, by year so that these kids can go in the gym and they can look and see what they did, and they know, well, we're going to excel and do better next year. And we start building on that. And this goes to help out Mrs. Van Ornament High Desert, that we're spending money and helping them develop those feeder programs, that they are Meadowlark, they're the Hawks. And they'll have their significant banners for Silver League and their accomplishments, but it's that part of the process is that we ask our students to do a lot. I want to recognize them when they accomplish that, when they get that teamwork done. So quarterfinals, league champions, semifinals, and to my record, and I could be wrong again, but I think Coach Comstock, the girls soccer, he is the only coach in the program that's actually made the finals, and they lost in the finals. There's been a couple of teams made semifinals. But those are recognitions of benchmarks that we need to recognize our kids for. It will help us build our programs, attract quality kids academically and athletically. And I know there's a lot of questions about some of the banners up there. Okay, well, for years, we competed as a freelance without being in a league, which is exceptionally hard, and we still made playoffs. Basketball, football, baseball, softball for sure. And we were in a freelance. Now we're in league, Heritage League, Desert Mountain League, High Desert League, the different leagues that we're in. Those are things that our student athletes focus on. We ask them to work hard. We ask them to get into class and to excel academically. So we need to recognize that. Excuse me. So I'm hopeful that as we move forward, that we can have a regular process at the end of a season where the banners can be updated accordingly. So those kids, before they graduate, if they're seniors or if they're juniors, that they can have something to look forward to going at the end of their academic year in June, that we can recognize them for their hard work and our appreciation for us being able to watch them compete. And lastly, but not, I want to welcome our Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Kevin Vesco. I told him to bring that check, stretch it out. That he's coming just from down the Santa Cruz Valley where I grew up, so I have high expectations, even though I went to Saugus and not Newhall. But welcome aboard, and we'll expect some good work and some very sound guidance on our financials going forward. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Jorgensen. I always appreciate the way you advocate for our athletes. You're very eloquent, and I think everybody appreciates it. A few meetings ago, we had a PAR report that came through, and I'm going to apologize because on that report, it said that Mr. Trazi was leaving us. And we just voted that report through. No mention was made about the years of service that he has given this community, 2 campuses at least. 17 years, and apparently at least 1 saved life. You too. So I just want to make sure that Mr. Tarazi knows that we're going to miss him, and I hope we do something spectacular for his exit. And I apologize for him being on that PAR report and not a word said about it for that meeting. So the other thing is the women's club that gives out the scholarship. It's an amazing thing. I can attest in our family that it has helped my son already in his first year of college. And there were very few submissions, surprisingly enough. So parents of seniors and seniors, apply for that thing because it's significant. I think it was $5,000 the last time around. So don't miss out because if there's not enough submissions, that just means the ones that do submit get it and they get more money. So just reminder to, take that seriously. The third thing is the board, as we operate as a board, and I know everybody knows this, but I just want to throw it out there. So this board operates by consensus. When we vote on things, we need a majority to make things happen. But as individuals, we're going to advocate for certain things. And it's just important that people understand that as individuals, we're going to advocate. When we advocate for something, that's our opinion. That's what we think our constituents want. And it's not necessarily the opinion of the other board members. But when it comes time to action, we operate together. And just so if you have questions of us or concerns, keep in mind that we are individuals and we have our own ideas. But when it comes down to it, we operate as a group. That's all. Thank you.
So welcome to our new Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. We're excited to have you. Definitely expecting great things, and I think you've got the right attitude. And definitely a good feeling from the start. So looking forward to it. Good to see the update on the community engagement stuff. That was great. Can't wait to see the results from that. So that'll be good. Aries, it's great to see us expanding on that. Anytime we can move everything digitally and try to make things easier for people, I think is all a very positive thing. I love it. My kids hate it because that's the first place I look when they ask me if they can do something that weekend. Well, let's see what Aries says. You got 3 missing assignments. I guess you'll be doing that first. Great to see we're doing digital enrollment. When will we have a feel for what our intent to enroll will look like for next year?
Well, we do the rollover of students to the coming fiscal year academic calendar. You know, we will be meeting with our principals, we meaning cabinet and myself, talking about next year's projections. They're getting a good feel for families that are projecting to come to our schools for the 23-24 school year. As we start building, as secondary sites are building their school-wide schedules, elementary is looking at their self-contained classrooms, taking a look at students potentially coming in, which impacts potential FTE. So my team and I will be speaking to the principals individually to take a look at possible projections, including our current enrollment coming up in the month of April.
So we'll know soon if we have any forecasted space issues.
Yes.
I'll be here to hear about that. That's all I have. Thanks.
Good evening. I'm gonna keep this short. I got a lot in the transportation area. First off, one more time, my role as a board member, if you approach me in an email, if you send an email to the entire board, I'm gonna run away from it because responding even just I got it or whatever, we're violating the Brown Act. Brianna is our president this year. Anything that comes to me, I will say to Brianna, I think it's appropriate that I will answer to this, and we don't have discussions that way. Know that if you come to me, if you've ever come to me, I'm likely to give you a long series of theoreticals in which you're trying to go, why doesn't he answer a question? And I'm really trying to tell you, yeah, round and round donut talk, it's government talk. There's nothing in the middle. And I just wanted to see how many times you'll stay on the merry-go-round till you get dizzy. But to Mr. Costan's point, I'm not up here to exercise my will on whatever. Everything, we hired a superintendent and we're here to support the superintendent as the leader, the educational leader in the community. And we all have our opinions on what we think is important. But don't expect that I will give you an answer or be the miracle worker for you. It's going to go there and there. And I appreciate your input and all that. And I take it into consideration. And when I do have serious talks, they're pretty serious. But yeah, don't expect me to undermine the rest of the board in making important decisions and moving ahead based on 1 or 2 opinions. I'd never, ever talk about negotiations while they're ongoing. But I will tell you this, I see what's going on television, and there's something, it's a new term, you heard it from me, a conflict entrepreneurism, meaning I take a small issue that's controversial and I vilify everyone and create a platform that's not real to create some attention to myself and feed negative energy and besmirch people and do all that kind of thing. When we start having ex-superintendents giving positions on what the new superintendent is doing and why they would do something different, that looks to me like somebody's not making enough money in retirement or wherever they went to and want to come back. Only I would say that. I appreciate, we get updates as to what's going on, but never in my entire time as a board member without getting in trouble about what's going on back there, we get updates and we know there are safety checks in place at the LACO level and at the budget level. And I have full confidence that the two teams that work together to come to solutions, they're all aware of what the parameters are and what the budget looks like. So I'm very proud of both sets of teams that aren't going out creating conflict, entrepreneurism and engaging and stuff like that. That's boring. That's tired. It makes me want to do like this so everyone yawns. Next, housekeeping. If you're going to send me an email as a board member, please route it through the superintendent's office. I like a collective of everything that's coming out of the superintendent's office to tell me officially as a board member, your capacity, you're being invited here. There are all kinds of considerations that no one considers. For example, if there is a sponsor that is asking you and inviting you to come to something and they're paying for the dinner, there's Form 700 and reporting considerations. If it weren't for Yolanda rodeoing us and making sure that there's not 5 of us there talking about it, I would be in federal prison. Don't try to make her do anything different. But please, if you're going to send me an invite to anything, make sure it comes from the district office. I love going to things. My work schedule doesn't allow me to take time off in the middle of the day, all day, but please route your request to board members through the district office. Yolanda does a wonderful job in making sure that I stay out of trouble as much as she can. Agua Dulce Women's Club, you do a wonderful job of taking money from my wallet every time I stop by your boutique, but that's great. The amount of money that that organization has given our students has increased astronomically. And the one thing I would say is, please, in your consideration of students, please take a look at somebody who wants to go to be an electrician, who wants to be a plumber, who wants to be a trade person. Please give them equal consideration because there are a lot of paths out there, and I don't want to exclude people who have a promising future, who could get into a decent trade job if they could get a scholarship. So I appreciate everything you do, but please have the screening criteria include our CTE program. Finally, enjoy your time off, get refreshed during Easter, because if you're a kid that hasn't been working hard throughout the year and it's come to the end of the year and you're freaking out because you're trying to play catch up and your grades aren't that good, this is a time of year that kids need your support. They really do. And, you know, load your grades up in Aries, please. Have kids know where they're at. You don't want to have conflicts at home where you got somebody with a hook finger saying, you know what, you're not going over there this weekend because it looks like you got a D. Well, load up the assignments, please, and then we would know that. But guys, enjoy your time off, recuperate. And the blessing in all of this is you will not have to hear my droning voice for more than a month. Thank you.
Okay, there are so many events happening in the district right now, and they're all very exciting. I wish I could make all of them. Like Ken said, I also don't have a job where I could just take off all day, but I do show up. You're very lucky.
I can show you how.
I am glad that we have a board member that's able to do that and show support. So thank you for being at all of the events when you can, Tim. So I would, as much as I would love to be at everything and be everywhere and watching the great things that all of our students from Meadowlark to High Desert and Vasquez are doing, I just can't, but I am cheering you guys on from a distance. And I am paying attention and thanking the staff and the parents that are putting these awesome events on. It doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you so much to staff for all of your hard work in doing all of these different great things that our kids get to be involved in. One of those things was the Silver League soccer championships that were held at Vasquez, Silver League for the junior high schools. I was able to attend that. What a great event. just standing on any of our campuses and looking at the amazing place that we get to live and work, it's, you don't get that everywhere. And I don't think everybody just appreciates where we get to do what we do. So thank you, Vasquez, for hosting that. It was very cool when I pulled up and the entire athletic parking lot was full because we had a baseball game going on, we had a softball game going on, and we had 5 different schools up at the football field for soccer championships. The volunteers there and the Vasquez and High Desert staff, our security, our custodial, Don Schneider, all of the parent volunteers running that snack bar was fantastic. They worked their tails off. But it was, I hope they made a lot of money. It sure looked like it because they were busy the whole time. And I think they sold out of almost everything. It was just fantastic, a fantastic event. And the way that they were kindly routing parents and athletes to 2 different sides of the field to keep everybody safe and calm was just great. It was a really, really awesome event. Congratulations to both High Desert boys and girls soccer for making it to the championships. That was really awesome. So thank you to everybody involved in that. So I do work at a school that is an opposing team to High Desert. And the PE teacher at our school is the athletic director for the preps out there. So when he comes into my office, specifically to my desk to say, I'm talking to you as a board member, not as, you know, Brianna, the office clerk or whatever I do there. I'm talking to you as an Acton Agua Dulce board member, and your school handled it. And it was beautiful. And he gave so many accolades to everybody out here. It makes me feel so proud. So thank you to everybody involved in that. Last thing, Mr. Rowland's adult handbell group, so much fun. So if you have a chance, the performance of all of his handbell groups is this Saturday. It starts at 7 o'clock. It's High Desert students, Vasquez students, adults, it's graduated students. It's gonna be a fantastic event, as it always is. I have been asked to let everybody know that adult handbells will be carrying on, and they will be putting on another performance in May, and they are looking for other adults to join in. So they meet on Tuesday nights. If anybody wants to join the adult handbell group, it is, I've never played an instrument before in my life. So that's, I mean, other than like pounding on some drums or strumming a guitar, and I had no idea what I was doing. Like now I'm actually playing songs and making music for the most part. Michelle, she's probably like, So Michelle does put up with me. So thank you, Mrs. Van Ornum, for helping me through handbells. And Mari McLaws, poor Mari has to stand next to me. She is a trooper and she reminds me where we're at, and I just can't thank the whole adult handbells group enough. But anyway, if you'd like to join, you can contact Sandra Beck. And if you don't know how to contact Sandra Beck, email me, I'll put you in contact with her, or email the school. Everybody has her contact information. It's a lot of fun. Join the adult handbells. That's my plug for handbells. That's all I have.
Can I veer off from the agenda for a quick second?
Sure.
It's about the handbells.
Okay.
So Mr. Rowland invited me to the beginning 6th grade students class after school, right? And so I came in, of course, I'm gonna take pictures. He said, no, you're gonna be playing the handbells. Like, you must be kidding, in my mind. And he says, do you read any notes? I said, no. And so it didn't matter. So put me next to a very articulate, well-mannered young man. Nigel was his name, to my right. And so he opens up the pages of the notes and he says, okay, well, here we go. And then so they start. Now, first of all, I was holding it incorrectly, and then I was corrected about the handbells. And then we finished one, I guess, performance or song or whatever you want to call it. And then so the student looked at me and said, you weren't reading the notes, were you? You're looking at my hands. I said, absolutely.
Along those lines, would this work?
Perhaps.
No, thank you for sharing. All right, moving on, 9A, approval of consent calendar items. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Mask on second.
On here, it says it is recommended the Board of Trustees approve the consent calendar items 8B and 8D as submitted. Is that 8B through 8D, meaning we're gonna include 8C? So we're voting on 8B, 8C, and 8D, correct? So we're gonna
Yes.
replace the word and with through.
Mhm.
Any changes? Any discussion?
No changes, no.
Discussion? Tim?
None.
None.
Lester?
None.
I'm not gonna pull the consent calendar, but there's a number of contracts on here. I would remind staff that if any of these are continuing into next year, that at the onset of the next fiscal year, that we would include those contracts in the list of annual contracts along with the not to exceed amount. Thank you.
I don't have discussion. Call for question. All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, yes.
Costa and I.
Mask on.
Falls, your aye.
Brianna Taxoni, I passes with a vote 5-0. 10A, personnel action report. I'll go ahead and move it in.
I'll second.
No changes to the part.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Hang on,
Oh,
I have a
question.
comment. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was too fast. Go ahead.
I want that the position for the CTE teacher, is that in connection with Career Connections?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good, thank you. Oh, by the way, that is one of our alumni from our district, so it's Jackson's a great guy. That's all I have, thank you.
To Mr. Costan's point, sometimes it's easy to like understand that there are some sensitivities that may show up on that list. And so you all know what I'm talking about. So it's not standard practice to display the list, but if there is someone on the list who has service and all that kind of thing, the board's hesitance to pull the list is kind of self-explanatory. So I would, and people that are going out after a long period of service, would you please check with them and ask them if you can summarize their service and present it to the board and then open that up as a discussion point in and of itself. So that's not a direction. I just think it's good practice. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no comments. All in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, yes.
Costa and I.
Mask on.
Falls, your aye.
Brianna Taxoni, I passes with a vote 5-0. 11A, transportation plan. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Tim Jorgensen, second.
Dr. Sahakian?
Thank you. First off, before the presentation, I want to thank Saeed and the transportation team for presenting the transportation plan within our community, within the Acton Town Council. They had a town hall. They also presented to PTO, PTSO, and Booster. So thank you for getting the information out. Tonight, there's an overview of the 22-23, our current transportation plan for our students and our transportation services budget. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Vensko for his first presentation with our district. Mr. Vensko.
Thank you and good evening, board. And thank you for the warm welcome. Again, I feel I left Newhall as a family, and I feel like I'm gaining another family here in Acton. So I appreciate the warm welcome. So the transportation plan actually came out of a new funding mechanism that came this year called the home to school transportation reimbursement. As a part of that home school transportation reimbursement, there's a requirement that the board approve a transportation plan by April 1 of every year to get the funding. The funding is going to be a mechanism of prior year's expenditures. They multiply that by 60%, and then they look at what your LCFF add-on for transportation was. And that stays constant every year. That hasn't changed since the implementation of LCFF. So this home to school transportation reimbursement we're estimating based on last year's to be about $125,000. So we'll get an additional $125,000 for our transportation. Back to the plan. So the plan is again a requirement. This plan does not go through any approval of like LACO. It's not like an interim report, so to speak. But our auditors will look to make sure that this has met the requirements of the April 1 deadline. And then each year it gets updated. Again, it needs to be annually approved by the board. So Education Code 398001 has under the condition of receiving the apportionments that the transportation plan have 4 major areas that need to be addressed. One is the description of your district's plan of transportation of pupils. And then it says, how will you prioritize transportation services for pupils in TK, kindergarten, and grades 1 through 6, and low income? The second piece is, how will your district transport services be accessible to pupils with disabilities and homeless children and youth? The third, under description of how unduplicated pupils will be able to access available home to school transportation at no cost. And then fourth, you must consult with classified staff, teachers, school administrators, regional, local transit authorities, and local air pollution control districts and air quality management districts, parents, pupils, and the like. So essentially, we have to reach out to all of our community members. And as Mr. Sahad or Dr. Sakin has mentioned, that Saeed did a wonderful job of reaching out to all those stakeholders. He held that town hall earlier this week to discuss. And before you in the agenda was the transportation plan that we came up with. And like as mentioned, it has all of those 4 components, and we're asking for the board's approval of this evening.
Thank you. Discussion?
Can you elaborate on that total transportation allowance 8590 of 125,000? Where's that money coming from?
I'm sorry, the
You have a total transportation allowance.
oh, sure. Yes.
The 125,518, is that we're getting reimbursed, or is that getting contributed by another party to our budget
No, that'll be an apportionment coming from the state.
from the state? Okay,
Correct.
and then that fluctuates year to year depending on the circumstances.
Correct. It is based on, so in Saks, there's function 36. In LA County, it's 36,000. And essentially they'll look at our last year's unaudited actuals or actuals, and they'll pull all those functions minus all the capital expenditures. And then they'll take that total amount, multiply it by 60%, and then reduce it by that 383,145. That 383 is the LCFF transportation add-on that they have kept the same since 2012-13. So, and then whatever the difference between those 2 numbers is what they'll additionally provide to us.
And so you're saying that this is a new process that this is the first year. So now this time every year, we're going to go through this and we'll have the updates, but we have to conclude this and agree to this by the 1st of April every year.
That is correct.
All right, thank you. That's all.
4,000 through 4,999 books and supplies. Just curious. Services and other operating expenditures. Generally, what does that cover?
So the services, so supplies obviously are anything that are required for the buses, gas, any sort of parts or anything like that. Your services are going to be any sort of repairs, any additional, anything from like licensing fees or whatever, anything that is required that has a service component to it, not so much a materials component.
That comes out of the same fund as books. I'm just, those are because of the description, it's why I'm asking.
Yeah, essentially, Saks came up with a singular description for those object codes just for standardization purposes.
Okay.
But yeah.
Thank you.
Might be good to see some different breakout on that. I don't see any like forecasted CapEx for like new buses. Anything like that as part of that budget goes. Is that something that would belong in this or no?
I mean, again, the funds are gonna be coming to the district as unrestricted, but as you can see is we're not fully funding our total expenditures, so at least from the state purposes, so that will be something that strategically we will have to plan at some point, as I know that you'll see an item later on for a couple of filters that are for some old buses, so things that'll have to be strategically planned over the next couple of years.
So this wouldn't represent the entire budget for transportation.
This 847,000 pretty much encompasses everything, again, minus there are no capital outlays for last year, so yes, that 850 is our entire operating budget. not
For the
necessarily-
2023-2024 school year.
For the 2021-22.
2020, okay.
year.
Got it. So,
Okay, not to put anybody on the spot, but I think there are transportation people here that work in transportation. So I'm gonna run through a series of questions. One of them has already been answered. In my entire time of either sitting in the audience or of being up here, I have never heard this discussed. So when I saw this, it was like, why did this come up? The only other time I ever heard this discussed was the board was discussing how to figure out how to have parents subsidize the cost of busing and whether that should be 300 or 500. And this was about the time that the district was looking at a negative certification coming from LACO. So I understand this. To the budget numbers, what part of the entire transportation cost is, I don't want to use the word an encroachment because everything is an encroachment, something that sped costs or whatever that I want to characterize as a problem, I call an encroachment on the general fund. My understanding of this is the general fund, you're expected, going back to No Child Left Behind, they give you X amount of money and then you're supposed to gain efficiencies along the way and at the end you're penalized. So what portion of the entire budget does not receive a one-on-one recompensement from funding source? What percentage of this budget are you required to find the rest of it through general fund expenditures roughly?
So yes, but we do not have a fully funded transportation part directly funded. Now granted, when they changed over to the LCFF, that really encompassed a lot of the pieces. They basically gave it every local district the opportunity or how they were going to fund that transportation department. So in terms of what's not funded, so we have, just doing quick math here, 125 and 383. So we're getting about, like I said, 510,000. And our total budget is 850. So what's that, about 60%?
So 40%.
40% is coming directly from the unrestricted general fund that is not a direct reimbursement for transportation services.
Okay, I appreciate you can run with this like this on the first meeting. It shows your competence. That was a compliment to you, sir. So I was never so happy as to see the cash registers come out of the lunchroom. And I am terrible about something that sorts students. So for example, if you have something that's going to benefit a set of kids on a campus, and I won't give you any particular example, but I think you can all jump to your conclusion very quickly here. If a kid can't afford the family budget or a set of circumstances to go do what everyone else is doing, then there should not be people looking through the fence at the kids, or there should not be lines of the poor kid or the kid with the food stamps or whatever that is. So since everybody is now on the equivalent of free and reduced lunch, and knowing that free and reduced lunch is the criteria for free transportation, has there been a linear relationship made? Obviously not, between free and reduced lunch and free transportation.
I can't answer that for the state, but clearly.
To your knowledge, that hasn't
No,
happened.
correct. Obviously, based on the funding here, we see that that's not the case.
So I'm not asking you to have a crystal ball, Kevin. I call you Kevin, correct? Good.
Absolutely.
So do you see at some point the state, based on your experience in finance, pulling the trigger back on free and reduced lunch for everyone? Or is it more like in your forecast, you'd be like, I'm not gonna be digging for money 4 years out, this looks like a good idea, or can you not commit to that?
Having been like, at least with the free and reduced lunch piece, I worked with our board up for the Santa Cruz Valley Food Service Agency, and they had advocates that their director went to those national meetings and basically advocating for those types of programs to continue on. As of right now, the federal government has only given 1 year extensions to it. So my worry, anything that only gets a 1 year extension always has that potential for it to be axed the next year when, you know, things aren't so great.
So in the background of your budget, you probably are more likely to be going, I can't depend on that money long term. And that turns into a social problem for me in your long term of how we keep the cash registers out of the lunchrooms. So now these questions are going to become more pointed. And I do need to give some background. We know that SPED, an IEP meeting gives the parent the right to choose to self-transport. The district is not going to suggest or mandate that you self-transport or tell you that you can't self-transport. That's a violation of IDEA. So we see the warrant register. I don't use the warrant register as a means to pick people out. As a matter of fact, when before I sat up here, I was an advocate for putting an aide on a bus if there are the possibilities SED issues on the bus where my child does not attack someone else or be attacked by someone else. So blame me for the aides on the bus. But at the end of the day, is this district ready to incorporate the number of kids who are currently self-transported? What would that look like in terms of our bus fleet?
So I know that transportation in general is a tough one. Human resources and staffing is a tough one in general. So as of now, we just did hire a 10th driver in the process of, we are waiting for paperwork to come back. So that will come to the next board meeting. So at least staffing, it seems like we're getting to the point where we're at least able to have enough staff to cover this fleet that we do have. But if the influx does come, we will have to worry, it will have to plan for that then. But as of right now, we have enough staff to cover what we have.
So of course, this isn't my direction, but where I work, I'm responsible for my budget. I would be looking to see if the people who are self-transporting, if a portion of those decided that they did not want to self-transport, that we have the capacity to do those things and to forecast that out into the budget where we're able to supply a full service. So my next question about this self-transport thing, we can't compare self-transport to buses, to staff, to pensions and all those things. We know that the people that self-transport have basically the IRS mileage, okay? Is the money that we're paying for self-transport coming out of the transportation budget?
I haven't looked into the details of each of the transactions, but my guess would be that's where if I were accounting wise, that's where I would be putting it. Yes.
Good. So if you were to discover that's not the case, please protect everyone's identity and their dignity. But that needs to be captured and extrapolated into what the actual cost of transportation in the district is. Okay. I think the SPED stuff is. Okay, so how would you characterize the culture and climate on the bus right now? Is it friendly? This is not, be careful, you're diving into an empty pool. What I'm asking is, are customers ready to ride the bus? Do we have the social things in order where I don't have to have a bus driver afraid to report something because, you know, that's the parent, the parents in the in crowd on that kid, and we got people punching each other and beating each other up. Is there anything that is a problem on our buses right now significantly in which people would not want to ride our bus? Please say no.
The answer is no. Our buses are safe. If there is any incident that occurs on the bus, that is reported from the bus driver. There's a way to facilitate that communication back to the school site administrator so that they could go ahead and address any situation that's typically around safety.
Is there any concern that you have, again, to the climate on the bus, that my child is going to get up and punch some other kid in the face? Because we know how Tammy is, right? She's not that way, but let's just pretend she is. So is there any relax, I'm talking, maintain your candor in the meeting, please. So is there any concern that the kids who have moderate to severe needs are not getting the support, and that would mean the bus driver is getting the support they need? Anybody have any concern about that? So when we're talking about Mint and talking about how good we are and all these kinds of things, we're not going to have people come over here and be bullied on the bus or be afraid to ride the bus. So in our projection of 1,400 kids, 1,440 to break even, are we ready to transport those kids if we were to meet those goals? Think about what that looks like in your capital outlay in the next number of years. I like to bring people in. I see the programs are coming on. I see the financing is coming in. We can't wait until they're, and along those lines, is there any subsidization of the current bus fee where parents who are not Title I parents and free and reduced lunch, are they paying to have their kids transported, subsidizing the district? Are we aware of any of that?
No.
Okay, so I'm going to go back in history a little bit, and this is what scares me. You cut your own legs off sometimes by doing stuff like this. There was a time when this district was having a severe problem and people were characterizing SPED and transportation on encroachments to the general fund. So in other words, I conflict entrepreneur and make it look like those people are the bad guy, this person over here, whatever. I knew that the charter revenue was not sustainable. And here's how I knew. When you run a business, your business is based on the convenience of your customers. Is it easy to get the service? Is the service equitable? So when I knew that when we were cutting back and asking customers to subsidize our basic programs, because you've already told us your budget is not fully funded and a portion of it comes out of this. But I knew that when you start asking parents for money, when the money starts coming back in, what is the first thing you do with the money? You restore and get rid of the subsidies that your parents and your customers are paying. Instead, we're making sure that people who stole $80 million got their money first. I am so happy to hear that nobody is subsidizing the system, because it's very difficult right now with gas prices the way they are, with schedule the way they are, to have somebody be afraid to put their kid on the bus because number one, they're going to have to pay, and number two, their kid's going to get beat up by somebody who doesn't know how to behave. Lastly, could someone please explain to me the circumstances by which third-party vendors are used to transport our children in the district? Or should I explain my understanding of it? That might be easier. My understanding of it is this: our association drivers have right to first refusal. Is that accurate? So let me give a theoretical. Let's say I have been driving all day. The kids that aren't acting up in the bus ever have gotten to me. I've had a really long day and I don't feel like driving to Mammoth tonight and returning back at midnight. Would that be a fair characterization of when someone else might not want to drive the bus? Yes. Is that really the intent of our agreement with our association?
No, I didn't say no.
So again, Mr. New Guy, I have a word for that we use in the oil field. I won't use it now. But what I'm trying to say is this idea that we're using another party to transport our kids, is it not based on the fact that our bus drivers may not want to drive to Mammoth tonight. Is that kind of the general idea? I mean, I do negotiations at work. I understand unions, believe me. And I'm not opening this up for everybody from the audience to engage in a negotiation session. But what I'm saying is that's my understanding of the intent. Because outside of that, what we're doing is we're subcontracting out associational work without meet and confer. Is that accurate? Kim's over there nodding her head. Yeah, last I heard, she was the HR director. Good. So under what circumstances, and I think I've laid them out pretty efficiently, is sped parents just all of a sudden decide we're all going to put our kids on the bus. And that mileage that the federal government gives you suddenly turns into a cost that has a labor burden that goes with it, including pensions. If that big thing over there that they're building with, I don't know how many houses, actually puts kids in our school. I don't know what the plan is, what the developer is telling you, what the kick in on that is, but I guarantee you there's going to be at least one kid. So in the plan for 3 years out, where I work, I have to do capital improvement outlays for the next 5 years by project to get them funded, because if I don't do that, I don't have any money, and then I can hang out all day like Tim. But at the end of it, what is our capacity now? And what happens when this marketing that we're doing and the capture of kids that want to come to our school, what is our ability in the long term to go through 10, 12, 15, and 25% enrollment increases? Is our ability to do that? And at what point do we trigger temporary use of these other services without alienating the union partners that we have in our district? That's my big question. And I don't know it can be answered. I think I'm done. Go ahead, please.
No, I would just say that that is something that we, as a district, whenever we do any sort of budget planning, outlooks on enrollment and whatnot, that we would look at the whole picture, not just transportation and not just sped, not just one program, but we would look at our entire budget and what services and equipment capital outlay that we would need. So that is always something that we look at every, all day. That's what I live, is the budget, right? And so it is something that we would take into consideration, and we can always, if need be, we can, we would have to adjust our level of service if we do happen to get that sort of enrollment increases.
With the funding that's coming in now, especially categorical funding that we will not have 5 and 6 years from now, and we're supposed to build efficiencies and these art things and all these things that we're doing, they are going to attract students. And when the day comes when you can't pick somebody up, or you're getting into details, to Brianna's exception to apply, you do have to apply if you're applying for interdistrict transfer, if you're over there. And we don't want to take on somebody else's problems, and I'm being as delicate as I can. But at the end of the day, I think you need to be able to look at the performance expectations of what this district is trying to achieve, tie the funding to it, and see the reality of it to it, not just pay lip service to the point where we've got full classrooms, no floor space, and no way to pick the kids up. And then I'm fighting with these three in the front row because I've subcontracted out busing inadvertently because I can't meet or predict the demand. Amen. All right, I'm done. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate an honest, open discussion, and I so much appreciate a superintendent does not tell you when it's okay for you to talk and not. I've lived those days. Brianna, thank you.
Okay, so I just have one clarifying question based off a question that Ken asked. And I may have misinterpreted the question or the answer. I thought that he asked, do we have parents paying for bus service in a roundabout way? Did you ask that? And they said, no, we do not have parents.
Yeah, that was the question.
Okay, so did we do away with bus fees? Because from 2-3 years ago, we were charging bus fees. Are we no longer charging bus fees?
So mine, I'm not, we'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure, but my understanding, at least they would be paying out of pocket for like those that are choosing to self-transport. They would get mileage reimbursement, but.
That's something completely.
That's something
That's
completely
something
different.
different.
I'm talking about
I would have to
parents
get
that want to sign their student up to ride the bus.
Yeah.
They do not qualify for free and reduced. That they do pay a bus fee based on the semester and based on whether doing AM, PM, or both.
I will get back to you. I like I said, this is day 5 on my journey here, so I will.
She's gonna fill out a card.
Okay, there you go. Yes. So we'll get to that. Yes.
So I did work in the transportation department for a couple of months, maybe 3-4 years ago. And it was definitely before COVID, but we did charge bus fees and I don't remember those going away. So I just wanted to clarify. We'll go ahead. We do have a comment card.
Point of order first. Guys, I don't like to do this, and I don't want you to be forced to speak. But the idea here is when you have people yelling things out from the audience and all that kind of thing, it turns into, no, we're not talking about anybody in particular. But I'm saying is, this is the kind of thing that the board is asking questions to be educated. Staff, we have a brand new person. So any information that you can give us or insight, particularly because you work in transportation, this is the proper way to do it. It goes into the record, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we did not do away with the fees, but currently if a parent cannot pay or does not pay, we do not refuse bus service for a child. We are working on budgeting and grants. That's what I was told, so that free and reduced, we're not charging currently. I do not ask for a payment. I collect a $2 fee for a one-way, stuff like that. If they cannot pay at the time, I let them know, come back and pay, but I won't refuse bus service if they can't pay at the time.
But it is on our bus application that if
It is.
we're not talking free and reduced, we're talking,
Currently, we did not get rid of it completely.
okay, so that was my confusion. Thank you, Brittany. You didn't have to,
Point of
you
order.
didn't have to do that.
Point of order, would anybody on the administrative team like to assign Brittany the ability as an employee now, not as an attendee to the board meeting, to make comments to the board? Would anyone like to entertain that idea?
Yes.
Okay, so let's, no, this is you. Could you tell us what your title is, please?
I'm a secretary in transportation.
Okay, so you're familiar with the everyday transportation. So I think you should loop now and see if anyone has any questions, if you're comfortable.
Do you have any questions for a second?
Well, I don't have questions for the young lady standing at the mic, but I have questions for Kevin in the back.
Okay, and
Go ahead.
So when, in this regards to Mr. Fallsgrass comments, when we're having, our primary objective for transportation is to pick kids up, get them to school and take them back. So there's a schedule that our current to meet the needs of those students to get them back, to pick them up, take them back, get them back and forth to school, correct? So when it comes time for extracurricular activities after school hours, are the classified employees, if they are not needed to return kids home and they can afford to take that bus off that route to take kids to an extracurricular, and let's talk athletics because that's the one that's the predominant one. We can free up a bus based on the requirement they have to leave at 1 o'clock. They won't be back till 5, so they're going to miss the go home time after school. That then is when there's a consideration to contract with a third party, correct? When we can't meet our obligation by taking them out of the loop.
Correct.
That's the prior, because we want our classified, our agreement with our current employees in our own buses to do that work if at all possible. But if it infringes on our requirement to get them home at the end of school, then we have to go someplace else. Without adding new employees and having to sit around and wait.
Exactly, those would be the times that we would contract out with a charter company or something of the like, because.
Now, the other side, the other second part of my question is that I know that there are work requirements for how many hours people can be in buses and so forth. How does that impact our buses? Because they pick up in the morning for 2 or 3 hours, they're out of their bus. They go 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon to take them home. So we are never impacted by that hours to take that long run to Edwards Air Force Base, which is another 3 hours, 6 hours. Do we ever run into any complications like that?
I mean, I know that the staff does the best that they can to schedule so that we don't run into those DOT areas.
Right.
Obviously, again, we have to follow all state and CHP guidelines and such. So if there are, we try to staff around that, we try to schedule around that. But again, that is another opportunity or time when those third-party charters might be used.
Right. So the obligation is that our obligation is safe transportation, get them to school, take them home from school, extracurricular activities. Obviously, it's a boon for our classified because a little overtime, we appreciate their work. We have the facilities, we have the buses, we have whatever. But there will be occasions when scheduling doesn't permit, distance doesn't permit, hours don't permit, and then we go outside. So we're looking out for our employees first and then going to the other way. Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
So what would be required? So if we look at outside buses, charters versus taking care of everything. It would, on the face of it, it looks like it'd be impractical to have enough buses and employees to handle every extracurricular activity. Is that correct?
Yeah, if you had a bus for every single one, you'd have a problem finding staffing for it. I think that's where you run into, it's a resource issue. It's not necessarily.
So the path forward is blending our bus service with charters. And the way we do that is going to be the way we provide the service for every event we need and picking kids up from school and getting them home.
Correct.
So-
Ideally, in the real world, we would have buses and again, people for everything, but again, finite resources, both funding and staffing and equipment.
Right, so in the foreseeable future, we are looking at living with a charter service.
At times, obviously, they're more expensive, but the goal of the district is to self-provide when we can without, at all possible. And if not, then yes, we would obviously look to other resources. Because our goal is to have the students to get to where they need, whether it be our general education or their extracurricular activities.
So my only comment is, and this is not an ask, just that when we look at the charter companies, that we really do a good job vetting them, because I know we've had some inconsistent performance, and it's not helpful when the kids are all standing out there and the bus doesn't show up. So since this is our life, being the small district, and we don't have a fleet of buses sitting there and a fleet of drivers, stable drivers ready at every moment, we really need to make sure that we have a good relationship with a good charter company going forward. I think that's important. So, thank you.
I think it's good policy to staff appropriately for your average levels and then have subcontractors available to deal with the surge or additional. So that's a smart way to approach it. So we're not carrying additional OpEx and having additional maintenance costs and all those things for seldom used vehicles that are sitting around. Are our buses capable of taking these long trips to Mammoth? Is that something we want to put them through, or based on those filters we're about to buy, it sounds like we're trying to take old buses that should go out of circulation and apply something to them to keep them in circulation.
Well, I know that the CHP does their maintenance reviews of them, so they obviously wouldn't allow them to be out on the road if they were not compliant, so they are capable, and we don't make that determination, CHP does, so obviously, granted, you rely on their expertise, but that we do a good job of maintaining our buses. Our staff do what they can when they can, but again, as the bus fleet needs to work, again, that'll be a budgeting kind of capital outlay that we might.
Understood. And just, in general terms, when it comes to our transportation policy and how we apply it. Good written policy and consistent application of policy will prevent any sort of litigation or anything like that.
Okay, I've asked Alex to pull this up. The requirement is that we have consultations with all these stakeholders. And what I'm seeing is certificated staff, classified staff, school administrators, authorities and things like that. Nowhere up there does it talk about having a consultation with school board members. So the scope of this document is you reach out. I'm not interested in entertaining ideas about who drives bus on overload, because my job is to ask for the district to be informed. And Brittany, I don't mean to put you on the stand, but it's very disheartening for me. If I ask you to fill out a slip and ask you, it's because I need the information from you, or you are respected school employees. And if up here we don't know what's going on, and you tell me that the most important thing I heard tonight was that Brittany is on the phone trying to explain to people in a very sensitive thing of, I can't afford the bus fee. Imagine that. Imagine what that's like. And all this marketing we're doing, what is Brittany the one to break the news to the new parent that, well, you got to come up with $45 this month, or my focus, guys, is to make sure that she's not in that position. Let's start there. And then also, I think that it's good to forecast. Everybody's asking for forecasts about what your ADA is going to look like. This game. Some administrators will say, well, our ADA is going to be 800. Now all of a sudden, surprise, it's 2,000. Oh, I'm the hero, right? Come on. Where are these numbers coming from? There's a number of kids here. I've told you, I'm not interested in predating the other schools and sending postcards. I swear if I get another postcard asking my kid to go to a charter that's in my boundary, I swear I'm going to get loose up here. I know where I want to send my kids. Thank you very much. But at the end of the day, I'm not interested in engaging conversation. When we consult with all those people, somebody has to grow. And I made a comment earlier, a public comment that maybe I shouldn't have made. But what I'm saying is, let's grow this up to we're all looking at the employees, and the employees are informing us and saying, hey, look, we are typically running into this level of staffing where we can't meet this. And if you're going to add on 10 more kids, if you're going to add on 50 more kids, or 20% of the SPED kids that are currently self-funding, these are the projections that you're going to do. And I swear you cannot inform the top end if the bottom end that's doing the work every day can't or doesn't feel free to give their input. So Brittany, thank you very much for sharing that information. I'm glad you're the answer, but I think I owe you a little bit better service from up here, and you'll never hear me say that. So I think that I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but I don't want Brittany embarrassed. She's not the paper boy in the movie banging on your door because you didn't pay him the $2. I don't want that. Okay. Short of that, this is the first time we've ever had this discussion. And just because it's robust and people are asking questions, you have people up here that run businesses and high-end stuff, and people that get the phone calls about why isn't this happening and why isn't that happening. So that's our level of expertise. And you guys are smart enough to make it happen or tell me you can't. Thank you. Brittany, thank you.
I have no further discussion, so we will call to a vote to approve the transportation plan as presented.
I'll move it in.
It's already been moved, and we just need to vote.
Jim Jordan tonight.
Tom Costa and I.
Mass now.
Balls, you have aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. It's
Thank you,
approved by a vote 5-0. 11B, tentative agreement with Sunny Days. Can I get a motion?
Move.
Second.
Dr. Sahakian?
Thank you. 11B and actually 11C, apologize for jumping one ahead. Tentative agreement with Sunny Days. is for the 23-24 fiscal year. And then 11C is for the 30 non-school days for summer. We do have a presentation from the Sunny Days team, Ms. Sandra Dinkowski, and her team will be presenting this evening. They are our partners for Sunny Days After School Enrichment Program, and funding for this comes from ELOP Expanded Learning Opportunities Program. Ms. Sandra, are you on with us?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Christian Agassi. I'm the Vice President of Sansar Inc. We operate Sunny Days After School. I will be presenting this evening for you guys. Bear with me while I share my screen, if you don't mind.
There we go. And good evening, everyone. This is Sandra Dinkowski. Thank you so much for your patience, and we're going to start here shortly.
Right. So a bit about us. We are a small mom and pop 501c3 nonprofit. We've been able to serve many districts in the 25 years that we've been open, including Acton, Agua Dulce, Lancaster, Newhall, and Sulphur Springs, to name a few. Our wonderful team at Sunny Days is led by our site director, Val Femat, and the community has really grown to value her because the passion that she has for kids and their education really shows in the work that she does. We are currently operating at full capacity for our ELOP program. We do have a wait list, and through that, we've been able to garner meaningful connections with the children that we serve and their families. We also really appreciate stakeholder feedback. We gain this by keeping an open line of communication with district staff as well as the families that we serve. And included here are a couple testimonials from some Meadowlark families that attend our program. Some of the grants and programs that our administrative team have extensive experience in, notably ACES and ELOP funded programs, amongst many others, are what we specialize in. And some of the benefits of our after school program include the fact that we are community driven. Our students, family, and staff are encouraged to have a voice in our program, as well as participate in the community events hosted by the district. We focus on early literacy as well as safety and supervision. And the children that attend our programs see a meaningful increase in their academics and their school attendance. We currently offer before, after school, and out of school care. We provide snack for the kids that attend our program, reading intervention, enrichment activities, as well as indoor and outdoor organized play, just to name a few things as to how we meet our community needs. And ultimately, we want to say thank you for your partnership and the growth that we've been able to experience with you. And at this point, I'd like to open up to the board to see if there's any questions for us.
Thank you. Tim?
I have no question for you.
What is the average number of students that go through your program? Because you said that there's a waiting list.
Correct. So right now we are operating at capacity of 30 students. In our proposal for the next fiscal year, in the next school year, we have upped that number to 40. We also have a fee-based program, which is our most affordable of the fee-based programs that we operate in order to accommodate any overflow.
So when we increase to 40 students, would that eliminate the wait list, or?
I believe that will eliminate the wait list as it stands currently. Yes.
Thank you. Hi, this is Lester Mascon. How long have you been contracted with Acton Agua Dulce Unified School District?
We've been contracted for a few years. I believe the exact number of years is something that Sandy, our president, would be able to answer for you specifically. I believe this is our 4th year that we'd be going into.
That is the 4th year with our fee-based, and this is going to be our 3rd year next year for ELOP.
Thank you. Based on the amount, why does this not require a competitive bid at some point?
Because they're more considered as like instructional professional services, it doesn't require like a formal bidding process as opposed to like something like a concrete or something. That.
Thank you.
The fellow board members asked a couple of questions. What's the total amount of this contract?
We have for the 23-24 school year, 215,000, and then for summer, 49,000.
So that exceeds the 109,000 bid limit per se. Guys from Sunny Days. You might want to turn your mic off right now. How many formal complaints have we had about this vendor regarding the safety, treatment, or of staff concerns with children?
None.
None. In your 4 years of service. So 4, where I come from, 4 times 3 is, or 3 times 3. So you have 90 kids in your class that you've dealt with. Can anybody tell me about what the residual is about the kids that start there and come to kindergarten round up? Is there a trend?
I'll defer to
Was
Ms.
this characterized as a mainly an after school and before school program? So are we servicing kids outside of the district?
There are kids that go to.
Well, that's unfortunate because we could route them right to our schools with the right number of buses without fees, yes. So, so there's not been one complaint about any of their staff. There's not been a police response. The sheriff hasn't had to go over there. None of the staff have been put on suspension pending and paid administrative leave pending investigation.
The only time the police went there is when the alarm went off because they set it off in the morning one time. So if anyone saw
I
the
didn't
police,
pull,
it was because of
Kim,
the alarm.
Kim, don't look at me like that. I didn't pull the alarm. Thank you.
Just so-
Okay, yeah, so I've asked my questions. Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay, call for question to approve the agreement with Sunny Days.
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Tom Costa, aye.
Mask on.
Paul's graph aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. Agreement is approved with a vote 5-0. 11C, ELOP 30 non-school days.
I'll move.
Mask on second.
Dr. Sahakian.
Thank you. So this is still with Sunny Days and through the ELOP funds to continue services during summer 23. Thank you.
Discussion? Call for question. All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Tom Costa, aye.
Mask on.
Paul's graph aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. 11D, agreement of consultant services between the AADUSD and Maudi B. Dominga Unlimited.
I'll move.
Mask on second.
Dr. Sahakian.
Thank you. So this agency that's up for approval, 104,000. It is grant funded if approved. The grant funding is coming from U.S. Department of Ed Mental Health Demonstration Grant. This agency will facilitate part of the scope of work for this mental health grant, facilitating lessons at the high school regarding mental health and substance abuse disorders, as well as providing professional development for staff and identifying substance abuse disorders. Thank you.
Discussion?
Is there any family planning element of this consulting service?
No.
Thank you.
I don't have discussion. Call for question. All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Costa, aye.
Mask on.
Paul Scott,
Brianna Texoni, aye. The agreement is approved 5-0. 11E, agreement with Faber Communications Corp. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Mask on second.
Dr. Sahakian?
Thank you. So from the Transportation Department, this will be a contract for cameras for our school buses to help support and facilitate ongoing safety for all. This agreement was actually reviewed by our CSEA e-board as it may impact our bus drivers. So we have their approval on that. And notification for parents was drafted pending approval by board to notify of camera installation on our buses if the trustees approve this item. Thank you.
Discussion?
What is the primary objective? I know we say safety, but we use the word safety as an umbrella on a lot of things.
So there was examples that were brought up earlier, Mr. Costin, from our trustees. So if something does occur on the bus, a parent has a question about maybe what transpired between peers. This is something that could actually be played back and reported in terms of an investigation. But this is not, I just want to put this out there, this is not for surveillance, but to go ahead and look into any issues that may come about.
And these videos are stored where and how, and who has access to them?
I'll defer to Mr. Vensko. If we have the answer this evening.
I don't have the answer right at the moment, but I will find out from Saeed and the vendor and make sure that they follow any required legal obligations.
I just want to make sure there's no privacy, issues here. I know I saw the letter that went out, or the email rather, which outlined safety, and this is more about accountability, maybe, which is good. I just the follow-up when things happen is going to be easier, possibly more accurate, so better for everybody, and maybe get more people to ride the bus without paying a fee. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I think anything that supports our bus drivers and gives them, helps us enforce whatever our, busing rules are and the conduct on the bus, I think is all a good thing. Do we know what our retention policy is on retaining the video that's captured on the bus?
I have to defer to the contract itself. I don't believe it's on there.
I think we need our own information security policy surrounding the video
Yes.
that's captured and how long we retain it, who has access to it, what business purpose someone would have access to it, et cetera. Like all that would need to be part of this at some point.
Yes,
I would expect, not instruction, that's just
and we'll look into that and respond back with responses to these questions posed by you, Mr. Costin.
I move that we table this item until the concerns and questions that were brought up, especially the legal opinion. I do appreciate and recognize that the classified union has looked at this and is in support of it, and this is in no way, but I'm asking for a second that we table this until the questions can be answered. Do I have a second?
Second.
We should call the question.
Can we call the question, the motion on the table to table this item until our questions are able to be answered? Tim,
Discussion on this.
do you have anything to discuss on this motion first?
Is this agreement time sensitive?
It's not time sensitive. I would rather err on the side of caution and get these questions answered. But I do, feel confident that we have other elements in place in terms of, review and parent notification.
Tim
Any other
Jordan tonight.
Cost and I.
mask on.
Paul Scott, aye.
Brianna Texoni, aye. 11E, agreement with.
Just one second, guys. Please make sure that every effort is taken to do a blast out that the board has asked for further description and encourage anyone who has an objection to this or a support of it. I'm not a believer in grooming people to come up and speak to us one way or another. But everyone needs to understand, if I'm the culprit on the bus and I'm being disrespectful and slanderous or dangerous to other people on the bus, this will be captured. I don't want somebody coming in here and telling me that my kid, that we're not in the business of putting in cameras and asking the board's permission later. I've lived through that once. I don't want it again. Just please get a legal opinion, publish that in the staff report, make sure that that's there, and give my apologies to the vendor. I'm not questioning the purchasing here. I'm just making sure all of our ducks in a row. This is a bomb waiting to go off. Thank you.
Okay, so 11E has been tabled. 11F, agreement with Clean Diesel Specialist SoCal Inc. Anaheim.
I'll a motion.
Second.
Dr. Sahakian.
Thank you. So these are filter parts for our existing buses. These parts are somewhat hard to come by because they are outdated parts. And so this is the vendor that was located to actually provide these parts for these buses and for the filters, and the warranties for 1 year. Thank you.
Discussion.
How much do we anticipate that Brittany will have to ask the parents to fulfill this agreement? Never mind.
So my question is, we upgrade these parts. Is this to replace existing parts that have timed out? And do we have is there a clock on our buses meeting EPA or California EPA requirements that eventually they're not going to be upgradable or brought up to the specification at some point? Sorry, it's going to run on, but
I can answer the first question. What was the first question?
the first question is,
I knew I had an answer for it though.
it's my fault. That was a run on question.
Sorry.
Question one is, these are replacing existing components that have timed out or no longer.
Yes,
doing their job.
yes,
Okay.
they're replacement parts.
And the second question is, how much time do we have before our buses are no longer viable? If that's even a problem. Because I know that the water delivery companies in this town have run into this issue, and I want to,
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have an answer for your second question, unless Mr. Vensko has an idea of how
I
long.
mean, not from a legal standpoint, no, but there are accounting wise, you have useful lives, correct? But and I'm at this point, we're probably past that accounting useful life, but that has not to say that the bus isn't in good working order and up to CHP standards. So I don't know the exact answer on what the EPA is requiring or what CHP would have required on technically useful life. As long as they continue to meet their safety standards, then yes, they are available to be used.
so we're not running into a compliance data that you're aware of.
No.
Thank you.
I think we need to go to UPIC Auto Parts on Avenue M, and that's
We'll move, Tim. It's okay.
I think an internal review of our transportation department was requested, and we could probably include information about our bus system, our buses, and what sort of CapEx we can expect in the future related to that.
So none of our buses are currently rolling coal, right? Does anybody know what that means? Take the plugs out of your fuel injectors. It goes bleh.
Okay, call for question. All those in favor?
Tim Torrance for that.
Costa and I.
Matt Scott.
Falls your by.
Brianna Texoni, aye. 11G, certification of signatures, Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Can I get a motion?
Move.
I'll second.
Second.
Dr. Sahakian.
Thank you. So this will provide our new Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, Mr. Vensko, authorization to sign off on fiscal reports, business related items to replace his predecessor, Mr. Mirza, for authorization.
Discussion. Call for question. All those in favor?
Tim Torrance tonight.
Costa and I.
Matt Scott.
Falls your by.
Brianna Texoni, aye. All right, 12A, Board Policy 6173 and Administrative Regulation 6173, Exhibit 6173 Education for Homeless Children. This is a second read and adoption. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Second.
Dr. Sahakian?
I don't have any comments. I know you have in your packets from the first read, the CSBA language that was recommended for updating of this policy. Thank you.
Discussion, Tim?
Nope.
All right, call for question. All those in favor?
Tim Jorgensen, aye.
Tom Costello, aye.
Mask on.
Balls drop by.
Brianna Texoni, aye. Item 12B, Board Policy 6158 and Administrative Regulation 6158, Independent Study. This is also a second read and adoption. Can I get a motion?
Move.
Second,
This is a first read. I'm sorry, I apologize. It is a first read.
I'll move.
Second.
So CSBA recommended new language for the board policy and AR for independent study. Some examples include in event of school closures, districts are required to develop a plan for independent study, similar to what we had in the past with pandemic. Another example is district adopt procedures to address chronic absenteeism when there is school closures. So that's one of the few examples within the CSBA recommended language for independent study.
Discussion?
My last public comment, board member comments, I talked about the
California School Board Association addressing a means of another outbreak, chronic absenteeism, the things they said. So at the state level, they're looking to augment people's ability to get kids to come to school. And if you can't get them to come to school, short of taking a sheriff's department deputy over there and busting them at their house or some ridiculous thing like that, you would provide an ability to switch to virtual learning. Again, I'm not in support of virtual learning and putting our teachers back in through that on a snow day or something like that, but this is where the trend is going at the state board level. Thank you.
I don't have discussion and we're not voting on it since it's a first read. Moving on to 12C, Board Policy 3516.5, Emergency Schedules.
I'll move.
Second.
Again, CSBA recommended language for emergency schedules for BP 3516.5. Some examples include for safety of students, superintendent is authorized to close schools and change regular daily schedules as warranted for student safety. Another item for language update is district is to offer independent studies within 10 days of any school closure.
Thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, this is not. Sorry, did you have discussion?
No.
We won't be voting on it since it is a first read. Moving on to 13A calendar. We have spring break, April 10th to the 14th. Due to spring break, we will not have a board meeting that week. Our next regular board meeting on the calendar is April 27th, 2023, and then following that, May 11th, 2023. Correct? 14A future agenda items. Discussion.
Go back to the calendar. I will not be here May 11th.
Thank you.
Party time.
All right, hearing no discussion items for 14A future agenda items. Is that correct? Moving on to 15A adjournment, it's recommended the board adjourn the meeting at 9:33 p.m.
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor?
Yeah, aye.
Costello, aye.
Mask on.
Balls drop by.
Brianna Texoni, aye. Meeting is adjourned at 9:33 p.m.